term Soledad doesn't apply to us three only. You understand? It applies to all those brothers down in Soledad who've been making moves and who are working on now when you say Soledad brother, you'll have pictures on the wall of not just the three original Soledad brothers, but all others who've fallen in line. You understand?
George Jackson, John Couché, and Fleta Drumgo. These three African-American inmates were discriminated by the prison system. Known as the Soledad brothers, they were wrongfully charged with the murder of a white prison guard on January 16, 1970. This opened the case of these three individuals and was the first insight on exposing the prison system and the reality behind bars.
My four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream.
The 13th Amendment of the Constitution states, "Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime." This short phrase would set in motion a future of discrimination and a mythology of black criminality. What happens when the justice system places you in a state of limbo? Many people of color who were made to serve prison terms in the late 20th century would have no say in their future. In 1961, at the age of 18, George Jackson was sentenced to the Soledad prison for 1 year to life for stealing $70 from a gas station. Fleta Drumgo faced a similar fate in 1967 when he was sentenced to 6 months to 15 years in state prison. John Couché was convicted of second-degree burglary in 1966, his release date being 1970. He never met that release date. Imagine constantly thinking that you could be a free man in just 1 year, or that you could possibly spend the rest of your life behind bars. A major role that played in the Soledad brothers case was a secret intelligence titled COINTELPRO. It was first formed by J. Edgar Hoover, who at that time was the director of the FBI.
J. Edgar Hoover is doing is that he does not like the idea of people opposing the Vietnam War. He doesn't like the idea of people engaging in environmental activism, and he certainly does not like the idea of people demanding civil rights. So anybody in any of those three categories would have been a target of COINTELPRO. And what he would do is keep these secret files on people, follow people around, open their mail, involve himself with their relationships. Ultimately, his goal was to silence people.
George Jackson was under the radar of the COINTELPRO operation due to the fact that he was an activist, which is what gave him such a bad image. Activists were mainly targeted in this operation as a way to silence them.
If you go to the website for the FBI, there is a tab called Archives, and in the archives you can search by name. So if you enter George Jackson, you'll see his FBI file, or any of the activists. You'll see Martin Luther King, you'll see, people you would be shocked that there's an FBI file on these people.
On January 13, 1970, 14 prisoners and 2 white guards were sent outside to the recreation yard. The black inmates and the white inmates were separated, opposite sides from each other.
We have the Ku Klux Klan and the Black Panthers who would like to get at each other's throat and who use every opportunity to inflame racial tensions.
We divide in racial groups, the Mexicans be on one side, and all the brothers be on one side, all the whites be on another side, and it's constant tension,
A guard was at point and a tower guard above, and when a fistfight ensued, he opened fire with no warning shot given, killing 3 black inmates. 2 of them died in the yard, while the other died later in the Soledad prison hospital. In a letter from George Jackson, he described the scene as 3 of his brothers being murdered. After the incident, no trial was placed. Due to this, 13 black inmates began a hunger strike to begin a trial. On January 16, 1970, a Monterey court grand jury eventually gave in and ruled the incident as justifiable homicide. 30 minutes after the ruling, A prison guard was found dying in another maximum security wing of the prison, who was beaten and thrown from the 3rd floor of the Y wing. On February 14, 1970, an investigation was placed to investigate the guard's death. George Jackson, Lita Dremgo, and John Clouchet were accused of the guard's death, stated in the book titled Soledad Brother by George Jackson. The accused men were brought in chains and shackles to 2 secret hearings in Salinas County. A 3rd hearing was about to take place when John Clouchet managed to smuggle a note to his mother. "Help, I'm in trouble." With the aid of a state senator, his mother contacted a lawyer and so commenced one of the most extensive legal defenses in U.S. history. This was an event that hit the news nationwide. The light was shining on the prison and the reality behind bars. The Soledad Brothers Defense Committee was formed by Faye Stender to assist in publicizing the case and raising funds to help defend the brothers. Angela Davis famously joined this defense committee, who played a big role in the Soledad Brothers case, though this was a big challenge as most of the evidence was hidden or sent away by the prison officials. Not all attempts to help free the brothers were successful or received well. On August 7, 1970, Jonathan Jackson, George Jackson's brother, attempted to negotiate the freedom of the Soledad brothers by kidnapping Superior Court Judge Harold Haley from the Marin County Civic Center in San Rafael, California. This resulted in a shootout that left 4 men dead, including both Jonathan Jackson and Judge Haley, while 2 others were wounded. This moment showcases how the community and the family of the Soledad brothers felt their wing being heard and sadly felt that they would be heard through extreme measures. Angela Davis would later be arrested due to connections with her being the owner of the guns used in the incident, but not before she was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list. She was captured and was brought up on several charges, an attempt to silence Lead to a louder voice. While the nation waited to hear the outcome of these brothers, George Jackson was done waiting. He felt that no matter how many trials and movements were held to help people like him, the system wouldn't change. The foundation was rotten and all he could do was revolt. On August 21, 1971, George Jackson launched a riot at San Quentin with a 9mm pistol. With a gun in hand, Jackson released an entire floor of prisoners from the maximum security wing, stating, "This is it, gentlemen, the dragon has come." In the ensuing melee, 3 guards were killed before George Jackson rushed out into the yard where he was shot and killed by a guard. Angela Davis imprisoned, George Jackson dead, the public wasn't very happy. This then began the widespread cry for the release of Angela Davis and the remaining Soledad brothers. People nationwide protested and marched down streets with signs and cries with the continuous chant of "Free Angela." The justice system was forced to compromise by finally acquitting the Soledad brothers and releasing Angela Davis. Even today, the Soledad brothers case still impacts the remaining Soledad brother today. John Clouchet has been in prison since 1980 as he was convicted for the murder of Robert Bowles, though it was later found out that he was not the killer, but only covered up the murder, which he has apologized sincerely for this towards the family. John Clouchet has been eligible for parole several times, but has been denied by the parole board or reversed by Governor Brown. They've gone as far as citing the Soledad brothers case as a reason.
Okay, so this is what happens. He goes up for parole, and at the parole board, they try and see, like, have you become a better person? What kind of disciplinary effects did you have? Stuff like that. Every time he goes up, he passes the first chain, which is basically the parole board. I think it's either 120 or 150 days from the date the parole board meets to the date that the governor can say something to stop the parole.
John Clouchet today is still awaiting a decision on whether or not he will be paroled. He is currently 75 years old and has been in prison for years now, even though he should be free. John Clouchet is an illustration of a system that doesn't work. We have to fight for a change. We have to give a voice to everyone who has lost theirs in the battle towards equality. The case of the Soledad brothers was the first to expose the prison system and the reality behind bars, and has forever changed our perspectives of the prison system.